Hey everyone, James from TDB here, bringing you another In-Betweenisode. Today we have what is going to be, in my opinion, probably a very enjoyable In-Betweenisode for me. I am recording this with one of my favorites that is in the rotation, the 2004 Biyun Hao Manzhuan tea. It's a tea that I bought back in 2018, and you can go back there and watch me talking about it. And so recently I bought a little bit more from the Jade Leaf, and so wanted to compare this and just compare what my storage has done to this tea and what the storage that Biyun Hao has done to this tea. And how did I get this idea, really? Well, I got this idea when Denny and I did a Biyun Hao megasode on his Dennysodes series, where we had this tea, the 2004 and 2005 Iwu. And personally, my favorite of them has always been the Manzhuan, and that's the one I gravitated towards. But it's interesting to note kind of the differences between the teas. The Iwus had both been acquired more recently, and so there's a little bit more of a tart, sour note to them that I thought was kind of curious compared to the Manzhuan. So that's something that you can only do these comparisons so many times because the storage will probably get more similar to one another. But I wanted to see how much further along the cake is from Taiwan, as well as kind of more of those short-term things like tartness. We always think about storage in terms of what is more permanent as well as what's more short-term, what could be more impacted by conditioning. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a bit. And also one that is a little bit timely. Can't wait for 5 years and do this, because I would guess that they might move a little bit closer together. I doubt they'll ever be exactly the same. So really an educational episode in terms of both my storage, Biyun Hao storage, and these teas. So definitely a storage-focused episode. Also just frankly very curious where these Biyun Hao teas are going with age. My storage is going to be slower, so potentially the storage of this from Biyun Hao would move the tea a little bit further along, and so it might give hints at the direction that my cakes might go towards. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites, one that I have incorporated into the rotation a lot more recently, especially in the past year or so. And yeah, Biyun Hao, a bit of a Manzhuan special, as I said. So they pressed a lot of tea from there. 2004 to 2006, they pressed had pretty well-known productions in the West, and I think they are close to sort of the pinnacle of what you can get very easily as far as kind of just boutique pu'er goes. And from there, they continued to press Manzhuan, but a little bit more in the village form, as would become kind of the norm. So stuff like Manlin, Mangzhi, etc. So in this one, we are looking at some of the earliest, if not the earliest, Manzhuans that they did. So yeah, let's get into the tea. All right, so let's do it. And I have blinded these, so I actually don't know which is which at this point. Tried to take from similar parts of the cake, but you never know. All right, so here is the tea on the right. So kind of a lighter color there. Tea on the left. Similar color, maybe slightly darker. Take a smell of these. Dark, brassy, raisins, woody. A little richer, a little bit more of that plum wood thing. The house taste that I associate with Biyun Hao is a little more prominent in this guy on the right now. I'm just going to combine these and dump. And so, yeah, let's see how these two go. Spill some tea on myself. That's okay. Gonna spill any tea on myself. Might as well be this one. Right. So here's tea on the right. I'm going to keep these steeps short to start with. And so in some of these comparisons, I will just make slight modifications to them. Because whenever we focus on storage, I think it's important to show just the very beginning, because that's when you're going to get the most storage, and it's going to tell you the most about the tea. As we brew these teas out, I would expect that they might become a little bit more similar to each other, and that just tends to be how teas steep out that are aged. Rich, dark wood. Definitely perfumier on this tea on the right. So I think the obvious inclination right now would be that this tea on the right is the tea direct from Taiwan, but we want to drink some cups. We want to see how they're doing. We want to see what differences there could be. So yeah, we will make sure to do that. Cheers. Gonna let that cool down for just a little bit. Definitely be curious to hear other people's experiences with these teas. I did also recently get some 2005 Manzhuan too, so it's been interesting to hit that. In some ways, they are quite different from one another. I think these 2004 really has this like dark brassiness that really appeals to me. 2005, I think in comparison, is a little brighter. The profiles I wouldn't say are the most complex, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that it's just very, very good at what it does. Thick, strong. How I've been describing it lately is that there's just like a heaviness to these teas that makes its quality felt, and I feel like you can just feel that immediately from me. Like the liqueur, everything about it just feels stronger and heavier, and it's not necessarily a flavor note where you're tasting a specific note or whatnot. It just is kind of how the tea feels. I try not to make it sound too kind of nebulous, but that is kind of what it feels like to me these days. Okay, so there's not a huge color difference in how those brewed. So here is the tea on the left. I'm gonna boil this water again. So it's a little brighter. Still, I would say a dark Yiwu/Manzhuan sort of profile. A lot of sweetness. It's still thick, but I would say it's not quite as thick and juicy as this tea on the right. Interesting. It still has a lot of those same notes. A little bit of the plum wood. I think because we're side by siding them, it becomes more obvious that it's definitely more prevalent in the tea on the right. Collectively, I'm getting just like this salivation, this nice juiciness. So yeah, let's keep going. We will start with the tea on the left. Gonna keep these steeps nice and short. Just really delicious, just waves of sweetness rolling over my mouth right now. So one on the right is probably brewing a little darker. I did clean these chahais out just the other day, so probably the one on the right is a little darker. I'm gonna swap these in the next steep, and so we can confirm such things. Ooh, full cup. Yeah, I would say that it's continuing to get stronger. I would say this one is a little sharper. compared to the previous cups. We'll see how that kind of sharpness compares to this tea on the right. We'd probably expect the U.S. stored one to be a little sharper, just a little brighter. Definitely represent kind of what the tea probably was a bit more 8-9 years ago. We'd also guess that some of those house storage notes would dissipate just slowly over time, and I think that's becoming quite clear that it has, having these side by side. I think in a vacuum, when I just have the tea on its own, the one that I've stored for 8 years, I don't pick up on that quite as much. I still get a lot of that Biyun Hao house taste, but I think once you hold it up against the other teas that has been kind of come over more recently to the States, I think it's pretty clear that the perfumey house note is reduced. Just strong, thick, robust sweetness into the throat for sure. Dark plum, raisin. And, I think one area that the Six Famous Tea Mountains stand apart from other places is the complexity of the aftertaste. In particular, there's just a lot more that's focused on depth to the tea rather than just kind of coating your mouth, which can be admittedly very delicious, but you feel the tea just deeper and further, even if the upfront flavors sometimes aren't as strong. Cheers. Darker and leather. I would say this is definitely smoother. So I think the guess of this one as the Taiwan one is definitely what I'd stick to. So more perfume notes, and that could definitely be a negative to a lot of people. I'm a little bit neutral on that, but it's important to note that some of that perfuminess is coming from kind of the storage. And once you remove it from that, unless you are someone that is just storing straight Biyun Hao teas, which, I mean, all the power to you if you are, that storage note is probably going to go away over time. So also a little bit thicker for this tea on the right. I'm going to do one last steep of both of these guys and then do the reveal. So definitely guessing right now that this one on the left is the U.S. stored one. The one on the right is from Taiwan. And I don't totally know what the deal is with Biyun Hao storage. I've heard that he buys back tea from collectors in order to sell it. I don't know exactly how that works. But I don't know if it's his storage, but I believe it's all stored internally within Taiwan at least. Well, you can also take a quick look at the leaves now that they have unfurled a bit. Keeping these steeps nice and short because the tea is still very strong. Okay. Oh, I forgot to swap the cups. Oh, well. I do think the one on the right is brewing darker. I'll take a look at these leaves now, too. And yeah, there is a noticeable color difference, too, on these. Because this is a blend of a couple different Manzhuan villages, there is a little bit of variability on the leaf. I think that's a good thing because it creates a little bit more of a varied brew. That's one thing that does bother me quite a bit when it comes to some of the single origin ones, especially when you get to as specific as village. Sometimes I just get a little bored with the tea, even if it is quite high quality. But yeah, there's this one on the left is more dark green, light brown, versus just a shade darker here on the right. And it's interesting because I feel like the tea on the right does feel biologically older. How much older? It's a little hard to say because this one on the left is still, in my opinion, it's acceptably aged. And part of that is because it was probably stored in Taiwan for 14 years before I got it. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure exactly what to make of that. You're certainly talking about something different if you were to have a 2018 tea. I think the differences would be a little more extreme. Cheers. Another thing that I'm noting is that neither one really exhibited that tartness that I got from the more Taiwan stored ones when I compared them with Denny. Part of that could be the brewing. I brew a little bit differently than Denny, but I think it could just simply be the Manzhuan versus Iwu thing too. It's thick, it's juicy. I'm getting antique wood stuff. There's like a really nice, rich fruit sweetness that I'd say is kind of a mixture of plum and raisins. For this one on the right, I'd say it's more dark plum. No complaints. Cheers. Yeah, it's just a little sharper, but it's still very juicy. Oftentimes when you are side-by-siding, the contrasts are emphasized, and sometimes you just have a tea destroy the other tea. That's not the case here. I mean, these are the same teas, so it's not getting destroyed by any means, but I would say that I still definitely prefer this tea on the right by a decent margin. We'll do the reveal now, and yep, sure enough, Taiwan over here on the right, and US. Differences, yeah, I would say they are something like 20% different, something like that. You could tell that they are the same tea. I think it's, but they are just coming from different storages, and the storage definitely makes a pretty big impact. I think anyone that minimizes that is not doing it right, in my opinion. Storage makes a really, really big impact, even though these had presumably the same storage for 2/3 of their life. Just thinner, sharper. And so just one last note before I stop this video is I will probably be drinking, well, I will definitely be drinking these teas throughout the day. What I will probably do is I will probably drink just one at a time. I think drinking like this makes it so the US one seems a little bit worse just because it is being put into direct contrast with the one from Taiwan. I think on its own, the juiciness and stuff like that and the sharpness are less likely to bother me. So that concludes this episode. Let me know how you liked it, and I will see y'all next time. Cheers.